All right, let's get right into it. We are about to unpack a huge shift in, well, the very DNA of the products we buy every day. For years, we've been stuck in this loop, right? Confusing claims, broken promises about sustainability, but a simple piece of tech, one you probably use all the time, is now being used to completely rewire how commerce works, to move it from a system that just takes from the planet to one that actually verifiably gives back.
So let me ask you something. Picture this. You're walking down the aisle in a store. You see a product with a label that says eco-friendly or sustainable. What's your gut reaction? Is it, oh, great? Or is there a little voice in the back of your head going, really?
Well, if you feel that skepticism, you are not alone. Not at all. In fact, you're in the vast majority. Get this, a whopping 68% of consumers actively distrust those sustainability claims. That's more than 2 out of every 3 of us looking at a label and basically thinking, yeah, I don't buy it. This isn't just a small crack in the system. It's a full-on breakdown of trust.
And all this distrust, it's created a massive problem, not just for us as shoppers, but for companies too. And it's led us straight into what we can call the greenwashing crackdown.
The official term for this mess is, of course, greenwashing. And it's not just a feeling or a buzzword. The data is crystal clear. The European Commission did a deep dive and found that 53%, more than half, of green claims were vague, misleading, or just flat out unfounded. That's not a few bad apples. That's a systemic issue.
Okay, but here's where the story gets really interesting and kinda complicated. The backlash against all this greenwashing has actually created a brand new, unintended problem, one that's pretty much paralyzing. It's a phenomenon called greenhushing. And just think about that for a second. This situation has gotten so risky that now even companies that are genuinely doing the right thing are afraid to talk about it. They're choosing to just stay silent because they're scared of being accused of greenwashing. And that creates this information vacuum where we, the consumers, have no way to tell the good actors from the bad.
And, this fear, it's not just paranoia. It's a completely rational response because we have officially entered a new, really high-stakes phase, the enforcement era.
And the consequences are now severe. I mean, just look at Canada. They've totally flipped the script. Companies are now essentially guilty until proven innocent. They have to prove their claims are true. And this opens them up to lawsuits and penalties up to 3% of their global revenue. That's massive. And then over in the EU, they're rolling out this mandatory digital product passport by 2026. It demands total supply chain traceability, with fines up to 2 million euros for every single non-compliant product. The game has completely changed.
This quote really puts it perfectly. We're in a new world now. Those vague, feel-good promises just aren't going to cut it anymore. Brands are facing real, significant consequences from regulators and from us. So we've got this pressure cooker situation, right? Massive consumer distrust, good companies are afraid to speak up, and governments are cracking down with huge fines. It feels like an impossible problem, but what if the solution wasn't a better, fancier label, but something much more direct? This brings us to a surprisingly elegant idea, a QR code for conservation.
The whole idea is to stop arguing about words on a package and instead embed verifiable, undeniable proof directly into the product itself. And the key to unlocking all that proof? That little black and white square you see everywhere, a simple QR code.
Let me just walk you through how this works, because the simplicity is what makes it so powerful. First, you just scan a unique QR code on the package with your phone. Instantly, a digital medallion pops up. This isn't some marketing fluff. It's a piece of verifiable proof showing that a real environmental action happened because you bought that product. That action then funds the actual protection of 1 square meter of nature, and you even get updates on the project you help support. It's direct, it's personal, and it's transparent.
So what makes this proof so trustworthy? Well, each action is tied to what's called a unit of nature, or a UON. Just think of it like a digital deed. It's standardized proof that 1 square meter of nature has been protected, and it's geocoded, time-stamped, and completely auditable. This creates an unbreakable, verifiable link between the product in your hand and a real conservation outcome on the ground.
Okay, so the consumer experience is simple, and the proof is verifiable. But what is the big picture problem that this actually helps solve? This is where we move from a system of just collecting loyalty points to a system that really impacts the planet. You know, a huge issue in the conservation world is something called the paper park problem. We've got these huge marine protected areas that look great on a map, but in reality,
They're chronically underfunded. They are protected in name only, with no resources for active patrols or monitoring or the management to actually keep them safe.
And this is what this model is designed to fix. The money from each scan funds tangible, on-the-water activities. We're talking about GPS-tracked patrols by indigenous guardians, scientific research, the physical removal of all that abandoned ghost gear from the oceans, restoring kelp forests. These are the real actions that turn a paper park into a living, thriving ecosystem.
And you got to understand, this approach is a fundamentally different model from traditional stuff like biodiversity credits. That world is complex, it's designed for giant institutions, and it's pretty much impossible to explain to someone at the checkout counter. This new model is the exact opposite. It's simple, it's action-based, it's designed for you, the consumer, and it directly funds the real work happening in the field.
So, this model creates a powerful new way to fund conservation, for sure. But the vision here is so much bigger than just one product or one project. It's about building the foundation for an entirely new economic model, the regenerative economy. To understand the sheer scale of the challenge, you have to look at this number: $942 billion. That is the estimated funding gap every single year just to halt and reverse biodiversity loss. Philanthropy and government funding are critical, but they can never close a gap this huge on their own. We need a new engine for conservation. And that's the ultimate goal here. This QR code system isn't just a feature, it's a piece of foundational infrastructure. It's like the plumbing for a new type of economy, one where commerce doesn't just try to reduce its harm, but actively participates in healing and regenerating the planet.
I love this quote because it just captures the idea so perfectly. Imagine a world where healing the planet isn't some extra thing we have to do, but it's just the natural result of our everyday economic activity. That's the promise of regenerative economy, and this technology is what makes it real, one simple scan at a time.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. What would it look like if every single transaction, every product we bought, didn't just take from the planet, but could be proven to give something back? What kind of world could we build then?